Welcome to Port City Christian Church. It's great to have you online with us this morning. About to go into a time of praise and worship, and then Pastor James has got a message to share with us. So stick around, and a very big welcome.
Come on, put your hands together. Royals. Woo!
Urban streets through open plains, we are under one name. No one is lost or goes unseen, 'cause we're all loved by our King.
Here we go.
This is nothing ordinary. There is power in the name we carry. Every nation, every tongue, welcome to the kingdom.
Come on, everybody.
All the rich, all the poor, all the people, all yours. We are daughters, we are sons, more than mortals. We are royals, we are your we are your we are your we are your hearts unbound and running free, and different stories, one dream. 'Cause we all wonder that we belong. We found our home in the Father's love. This is nothing ordinary. Oh, there is power in the name we carry. In every nation, every tongue, welcome to the kingdom.
Come on, everybody.
All the rich, all the poor, all the people, all yours. We are daughters, we are sons, more than mortals. We are royals, we are your we are your we are your we are your no matter. It don't matter where we come from. Everyone is welcome in the kingdom. It don't matter if we're broke or we're broken. In your love we have found our freedom.
Yes, Lord. It's in your love we have found our freedom. We found our peace today. Thank you, Lord. Woo!
All the rich, all the poor, all the people, all yours. We are daughters, we are sons, more than mortals. We are royals, we are your we are your we are your we are your
We are yours. Yes, Lord. Woo! Hey, come on.
In the middle of the night, you were calling out my name. You were holding out your hand. You were calling me to praise. You were calling me to praise. In the middle of the fight, you were singing over me. You were freeing up my mind. You were calling me to praise. You were calling me to praise.
Yeah, come on.
Now I'm dancing off the fear and shame. Now I'm singing out your lovely name. When it's hard to sing your praise, I will dance the night away. You are calling me to praise. 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 Woo! In the testing of the fire, you were with me in the flame. You were burning up the lies. You were calling me to pray. you breathe life into my veins. You are making me alive. You are calling me to praise. You are calling me to praise.
Hey, come on.
Now I'm dancing off the fear and shame. Now I'm singing at your lovely name. When it's hard to sing your praise, I will dance the night away. You are calling me to praise. You are calling me to praise.
Yes, yes.
You are calling me to praise. You are calling me to praise. You're with me. You're with me when I'm without. You're for me when I'm in doubt. You love me when my love runs out. Where your grace abounds, where strength is found. You're with me when I'm without. You're for me when I'm in doubt. You love me when your grace runs out. Where your grace abounds, where strength is found. You are with me when I'm without. You're for me when I'm in doubt. You love me when love runs out. Where your grace abounds, where strength is found. You are calling me to pray. You are calling me to pray. You are calling me to praise. 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 You are calling me to praise.
Amazing love that welcomes me, the kindness of mercy that brought with blood wholeheartedly my soul undeserving. 'Cause God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Behold the cross, age to age, and hour by hour. The dead are raised, the sinners saved, the work of your power. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to us. God, you're good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me. 'Cause you are. 'Cause God, you're so good. God, you're so good. So good. God, you're so good. You're so good to 'cause I am blessed. I am called. I am healed. I am whole. I am saved in Jesus' name. Highly favored, anointed, filled with your power for the glory of Jesus' name. I am blessed, I am called, I am healed, I am whole, I am saved in Jesus' name. Highly favored, anointed, filled with your power for the glory of Jesus' name. God, you're so good. God, you're so good.
Yes, He is.
God, you're so good. You're so good to me. So good to me.
Lord, we just want to thank you for how good you are to each and every one of us. Father, we are grateful beyond belief what you have done for us on the cross. Restored us back to you, forgiven us of our past, and assured us of a future with you. We are so grateful for how good you are to each and every one of us, Lord. We thank you.
Hey, great. Welcome again. Good to have you with us. It was a good time of just worshiping God, wasn't it? Appreciate our team and the commitment they've made to just to bring us that opportunity to come and just worship the Lord together as a church. So great to have you with us. Wow. Another day, another Sunday together in your home. I'm just going to, I want to share around a particular passage this morning from the Bible, Luke chapter 14. And 25, verses 25 to 27, and then verse 33. So let me read it to you today. It just says this. It's from the New International Version. It says, now great multitudes went with him. Who's the him? It's Jesus. And he turned and said to them, okay? So they're following him. Jesus turns and speaks to them particularly. If anyone comes to me, he says, and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciples. Verse 27, whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciples. And then if we just go to verse 33 in the same chapter of Luke chapter 14, it says, in the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Wow, some pretty strong language used right there. It just draw your attention to the fact that it talks about the crowd that followed Jesus. It's always great to follow Jesus. It's a life-changing experience to follow Jesus, no doubt about that. And these people are following Jesus. But the thing that is the concern with this fact of this crowd following Jesus is they're following him out of interest and not so much commitment at all. They like what he does, but really when it boils down to it, are they really true followers or disciples of Jesus? No. And we see, courtesy of the fact of what Jesus actually says to them, that he knows their heart. Because he talks about, hey, you're not, unless you do this and unless there's some change in your heart, you're not truly followers of me. This is what it takes to be a true disciple of Jesus. And so we want to look at that for a moment, to be what it is or what it means to be a true follower of Jesus. But the title of my message this morning is what we need to love less, because there's some things we need to love less to be a true follower of Jesus. So, as I was considering the realities of what we face at this time, we are thankful for the social media platforms that we have to connect with each other. Whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever it may be. It gives us opportunity to connect with family and friends and to say hello to them and just feel connected and not alone. So yeah, that's really good. The trouble I find with social media is that we can be fairly superficial in our relationship with people using social media and not really connected, because it doesn't take much for me to just say happy birthday to you. And while I'm sincere in saying that, the emotion of it doesn't come across. It doesn't take much for me just to press a button on Facebook and go like your post or like your picture, in which I do, but once again, it doesn't express the emotion of how I feel about what you've put up there. And so while social media has been a great medium for most of us and a lot of us, at the same time, it really isn't intimate in our interaction. And on Facebook, for instance, you can like someone and say, I'm following you, but we're really not followers of that person. And this was exactly the issue that Jesus was trying to get across that day with this crowd. They'd possibly been following him all morning. And so in a real way, they're following, but they're not true followers. And he says it when he says to them, what's a true disciple? He really nails it with some interesting comments, doesn't he, in what he says. So, look, who wouldn't want to follow Jesus? Who wouldn't want to be part of the crowd? Because the reality is, when you hung around Jesus, sometimes dead people didn't remain dead for too long. There's nothing like a good rising from the dead experience to excite you and gather your interest. Jesus took a young man's lunch box and fed a stadium of people. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that, to see that kind of thing happening? But here lays the problem. They were attracted to the things he did, but they weren't really attracted to him. They weren't really drawn to him. They just liked what he did. They liked the excitement of it. And sometimes we've got to be aware, do we just like the excitement of maybe the Christian faith? Or do we just just want to stay close enough to Jesus Christ in case anything starts to go wrong, I can make sure that my relation, I'll get connected to him a lot deeper when I have to. So there's a challenge here that Jesus, that's why he turns around to the crowd and he says some pretty pointed statements to them, some strong emotion involved in it. And he opens his mouth and he says, you know what? He says, unless you hate your mother and father, your wife and children, your brothers and sisters, and even your own life, he says, you cannot be my disciple. That's pretty strong. Pretty strong kind of wording that he uses there. And you know what? And it's just not, what he says, it's just not some random person in your distant relative list. It's not some second cousin removed. No, it's actually your intimate, immediate family that he addresses and he's talking about. And that's very close to the heart, isn't it? Jesus is getting very, very, he's nailing it right there. And so Jesus is saying something, and he's saying, you know what, something's got to change in your relationship with those people closest to you if you're going to become a follower of me. He uses the word hate. That conjures up some fairly strong emotion. To use the word hate means there's some strong emotion in your heart. For me to say I hate something or to hate somebody, particularly hate somebody, would mean there would be some fairly major unforgiveness in my life have to be happening in a big way. I can't honestly tell you that I have that emotion to hate someone at this very moment in my life, or to hate something. I mean, I think of the worst food that I don't like. Brussels sprouts, for instance. I can't even say that I hate Brussels sprouts. I dislike them, but I'll eat them. The truth is, I'll eat them if mixed with other food and put some flavouring in it. I'll eat them because, they're not the worst taste. It's just that I kind of got them right at the top of my list of things I'd rather not eat if necessarily. So hate, it's a fairly major word. And Jesus is saying, all the things that you love, this is what he's saying, and all the things that matter to you and all the things that are dearest to you, you need to hate. And he doesn't make it any easier when we come to verse 33, because he says, even if you don't give up everything, you cannot truly be my disciple. What is really being said here? Why does Jesus use such emotive words and such... Why? Because it seems like it's contrary to what Jesus is really trying to display in his whole life, because he talks about love, doesn't he? Not hate. So let's drill down for a moment and see what's being said, because we see the word, when it's translated, the Greek word here that was used is a word misos, M-I-S-O-S, misos. It was a Greek word. And the translators, it was a very strong emotional Greek word that was being used here, that Jesus used. And the translators, in wanting to reflect the passion that Jesus had behind this word, wanted to translate it into some fairly strong and passionate English words. And so we see that that's what they used, because they wanted to reflect the seriousness of what Jesus was saying about being a true disciple of Jesus Christ. Because this was a very important subject for Christ. This was not something just to take or leave it. No, becoming a follower of Jesus, it was a life and death situation that in our case anyway. And so Jesus turns to the crowd and he says, you people, paraphrased, you people are following me, but you're not true followers. You love you love what I don't love. But if you had faith in me, if that true faith really was reflected in your commitment to me, would you really be committed to me when everything, maybe cross-like taking up your cross situations was really necessary for you to take up your cross and follow me? Would you be committed? You can see that Jesus is trying to display something or share something here that's really important. And so he uses the word hate to express how important being a true disciple of Jesus is. So when Jesus is saying this word, and you bring it from the Greek to the English, the translators, as I said, use the word hate, or detest is another English word you could use. But an extension of that word means this. And kind of this puts it in more of a cultural 21st century. It means to love less. Now, that kind of explains it a little bit better for us in this culture, in our day. But the truth is, I don't think it has the passion of the word hate or detest. But it does mean to love less. So Jesus is saying, if you want to be a follower of mine, then to be the follower, you can't have something in your life that you love more than me. That's what he's saying. And he's saying you need to love me most, put it another way. And you can't have a relationship that matters more than me. He's basically saying you can't have possessions that you find more valuable than me. He's saying you can't have an applause that you live for more than me. And you can't have a position or title that you aspire to more than the title of being a true disciple of Jesus. And we all have titles, whether it's doctor, engineer, carpenter, look, hundreds of titles, pastor. But do I love that word more than just being the title of true disciple? So that's what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying we must think about what matters most to us, and we have to make it less loved. Less loved. Interesting, isn't it? And why would he say this? Why would Jesus Christ have this strong emotion about this word? Why would he want to depict this and say this? Well, the reality is because Jesus knows that all the material things of this world, all the social connections, even the most important like wives and husbands and best friends or girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever it may, all those important things will never sustain the inner yearning that you have for peace and hope and joy. They'll never be able to give you that. Because all those things of this world, whether material or whether social interaction with other people and relationships, they can't sustain you because they too will pass away. But there's one relationship that'll never pass away because he's the creator of heaven and earth. He's been there. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that's Jesus Christ. He's the one that will satisfy the inner yearning that you have today of just wanting hope and peace. Jesus wants to have a relationship with us that we can every day wake up to and sense that we've got great purpose. Jesus wants a relationship with us where we know our sin has been forgiven and that we have access right into his throne room every day just to talk with him and relate to him, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. See, so our lives can truly rise above the crowd mentality, rise above the mediocrity that the world often wants to put on us, rise above the addictions that want to plague our life and destroy us, rise above all this stuff. And he wants to do something great. And he knows that comes through relationship with him, where we become true disciples of Jesus. And the passionate language that Jesus uses is reflective of him wanting us to be passionate about him. Because if we start to doubt him, start to doubt Jesus and that he can do all that he said he would, and that all his promises he has for us are not true, and if we start to doubt those promises and start to doubt who he is, then when we face the challenges of life, when we face the fiery tests of life, when we face the difficult times, then it would be so much more easier just to say, I'm out of here in regard to this Christian faith thing. I'm out of here because I've got other things that I depend on as well. I've got other things that I can put my trust in. And Jesus Christ becomes less in our lives and other things become greater. See, the relationship is not going to work with Jesus Christ if he becomes one of your competing things in your life. If he becomes one of the 14 competing priorities of your life, then you'll always have an excuse not to find time for a relationship with him. That's the reality. See, God wants salvation for all of us and for every person. It's available for everyone who comes by faith. But discipleship is for all those who are willing to pay a price. Because the reality is salvation is a gift and it's free. But discipleship and becoming a true follower of Christ will cost you the rest of your life. The Christian faith is not for the faint-hearted. It's for those who are willing to dare to believe and walk in his ways. But I will promise you one thing. It's full of incredible peace, joy, hope, and a sense of future and purpose because of our relationship with Christ. You see, there is a love that God hates. That is the love that places everything above him. I'll say it again. There's a love that God hates. There's a love that Jesus Christ hates. And that is the love that we place on anything above him. This is not because God is insecure, by the way, and wants you to adore him because he needs it or it makes him feel secure. No, he doesn't need that. He doesn't need it. No, he wants your undivided attention because he wants to add to your life account. He wants to put something. He wants to give into your life. He wants you to have fulfillment in life. See, it adds purpose to every day. It adds joy to the most difficult circumstances. It adds patience to the days when nothing goes right. It adds hope when it seems like there's no possible way forward. That's the kind of thing he wants to add into our life. This relationship not only benefits now, but it will benefit for eternity, I tell you. He just wants you to realize that a love for things or a love for other things above him will never fulfill your life and actually lead to a destructive life. And the truth is that God doesn't want you to hate your family, folks. That's the reality. He doesn't want you to hate your family. And the truth is, if we place him first and build a relationship with him, you'll actually love your family more. You'll love your family more Because as we love God, we love other people and we love life. That's the actual mantra for our church. If we love God, we'll find we'll have more love for others, and that we'll find life will be more lovable, more doable, more exciting. So here's my question for us all on this Sunday morning. It's actually Anzac Day, isn't it? The 25th. And as we think of the sacrifice that men gave for us in World War I, World War II, and many other smaller wars that have happened around the world, we think of the sacrifice they gave of their lives for us. Can we no less think of the sacrifice of what Jesus Christ gave for us? And the sacrifice was that he reached out his love for us so greatly, he said, nothing is going to stop me, not even death, in dying for the humanity that I love. As men and women died on the battlefields of the world, whether it was in Europe or around the world, even on Australian soil, I want you to know today that Christ said, nothing can separate me from these people, and my death will demonstrate the love I have for them. So I want to ask you this question. What do you need to love less? What do you need to love less? I hope you can be reflective of that and think about it, because God wants you to love him most. And when you do, you'll love life so much better. Thank you, and God bless you. Have a great Sunday.